Hello and welcome to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stefan, your host, British by birth, American by choice. The Founding Fathers crafted some remarkable documents that led to the creation of a great country founded on liberty and self-reliance. I have lived in the Euro-socialist nightmare, and I'm doing what I can to return this country to the vision that the Founding Fathers gave us. We need to strive to rebuild that shining city on the hill, for without us, the world has nowhere to turn for freedom. For the next hour, I will be presenting news, views, and guests that help keep the true spirit of America alive. And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're listening to the show. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, British by birth, but American by choice. And wishing you all a very Merry Christmas. Christmas is coming up. And tonight's show, episode 298, is my Christmas special. Just around this time, around the Christmas time, I like to bring forward some of my thoughts about this time of year, and more specifically, what might and might not have happened over 2,000 years ago, how it developed to be what it is today. I'm no theologian, but and I'm not a hardline extremist with respect to religion. But obviously, something very special did happen, and I think whether you're a believer or a non-believer, you have to acknowledge something special happened. How and why, who knows? Is it a supreme being who guided it all? Is it just fairy tales? Who knows? We don't know for sure. People have faith that it happened. Strange things happen that we attribute to faith. So it's all very possible. But the only way that we're really going to find out is when we pass on to the next life. And, unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any reliable way to get the message back. There are people who claim to be able to communicate, some of them with surprising accuracy, let's put it that way. But anyway, so, yes. So this is the Christmas time, a time of hope, a time of sharing and loving, a time of commercialism. I mean, Christmas time has changed a lot as well over time, and now a time that a lot of people around the world, but especially in this country as well, seem to be trying to hide, get rid of, whatever. Has it outlived its purpose? Is there a reason why these things are happening? Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, so, but like I said, so many questions actually, if you think about it. But I think it's a good time to take stock and just think about these things. Like I said, even if you're a non-believer, everybody is entitled to their opinion. One of the strengths that this country was built on is that there is no forced religion, there is no state religion required. Atheists have tried to even make that, and I think taken it too far, to say that the government can't mention anything to do with religion. And let's look back at the Founding Fathers. That was far from the case in that time. But as I said, if you are a non-believer, then fine. If you're a very strong believer and have a lot of faith, some of the things I say this evening you might find questionable. You might even be offended. But this is that's another one of the strengths of this country. We can say, I believe anything that we like, especially if it's not with malice. I'm not doing this to hurt anyone. I'm not doing this to belittle anyone. And these are just some of my own thoughts about the whole Christmas miracle. And what I will say is I do believe it is a miracle. I mean, to have something so strong come out from so much good is amazing. We have an example where another religion / political ideology was born out of violence and continues to exercise a lot of violence today. And in some ways, you sort of say it's easier to understand how something like that, how violence can terrorize people, can force people to think in a certain way. And yet the Christian religion very much is built upon love. Now, we've had many periods in the last 2,000 years. I think of things like the Inquisition, when a lot of things that were done in the name of the religion, in the name of its leader, were things that we as humans should not be proud of. But that doesn't reduce the miracle of the start of the religion, and the fact that it has overcome a lot of those issues and is really a very tolerant religion. There are other ones that can be very tolerant. We know Buddhism tends to be very tolerant, is not one that is totalitarian in any way. Most Hindus are very peace-loving, but like with any religion, there are those that are very extreme and can be, how should we say, very pushy about wanting their way with it. We know about Islam, and then other smaller religions around the world don't really have the strength, but Christianity, like I said, but what I would like to say is, and hang on a moment, please. Sorry about that. I have a little bit of a cough going on here. What I would like to say is that now with Christmas coming up, let's go back and think, what might have happened over 2,000 years ago. Did it happen? When did it happen? Did it actually happen when we think? Just a number of questions. And I think none of these should take away, as I said, from the miracle, what happened, and your faith. If you believe everything that's in the Bible is literal, that's up to you. There are those who believe nothing in the Bible is true, and as I said before, they're entitled to their opinion. I think they're wrong. But is everything in the Bible to be taken absolutely literally? No. I think doing that leads us to excesses like we see the Westboro Baptist Church, who not only take everything very literally, but interpret it the way they want it. and then say that it comes from the Bible. And of course, we see that also with the extremists in the so-called religion of peace, where they also take a lot of things very literally, and things from centuries ago, when today we know even things that occur in the Bible, we say, well, yes, but we have grown, we have changed as people, and we know that some of the things that are said in the Bible, and I would say especially in the Old Testament, are things that are not really acceptable today, and that's accepted by most religious folks. But I've said it before: extremism of any kind, whether it's left, right, whether it's religious, whether it's this religion, that religion, any kind of ism is bad. But as I said, so if you are very extreme one way or the other, you might not like this discussion, so you know where the off button is. But for those of you that are interested in just some, like I said, some ruminations of mine, I like to call it, about this special thing, the Christmas story, and the religion that grew out of it. I'm going to talk a little bit about that for the first part of the show. Now, if we go way, way back to the beginning of the Christian religion, I think one of the things we also need to realize is that for very long, it was the Easter miracle that was important to the early Christians, not Christmas. It was the Easter one. Look at the Bible. There is a lot more about Jesus' death and crucifixion in the Gospels than actually there is about his birth. Only two Gospels, if I know my Gospels correctly, actually refer in any detail to the birth. So there was the Easter miracle was the important thing, and of course that's the resurrection, the promise of eternal life, the fact that the Christians, had this very strong belief that Jesus had died for us, for our sins, and then was resurrected. That was a huge miracle. And maybe we need to talk about that round about Easter time. But the Christmas story did grow. From what I've been reading about it, basically it grew after the Roman Emperor Constantine co-opted Christianity to make it the state religion of Rome. As we know, he had a vision before a battle of a cross. The battle was successful, and after that he converted. He became Christian. Before then, the Romans had really been persecuting the Christians, but he became Christian, and he changed a few things, he kind of set some things up. But before we can do that, I'm going to play a quick commercial, and then after the break, we'll talk about Constantine making some changes to Christianity. Probably some good things because he helped contribute to the growth, but there were some changes. Anyway, we will be back after these messages.
You can lose 10, 20, 30 pounds or more with Maximum Slim's first ever rapid weight loss guarantee. Today, you get Maximum Slim, an advanced fat and carb blocker, absolutely risk-free. The all-natural ingredients in Maximum Slim are a powerful weight loss combination. The Maximum Slim formula turns your body into a fat-burning furnace that supercharges your weight loss. Advanced fat and carb blocker stops the breakdown of sugar so your body doesn't store it as fat. Today, you'll get both of these products absolutely risk-free free with no obligation. Only pay shipping. There are no expensive meal plans or exhausting DVDs. Just take Maximum Slim twice a day. It's fast, simple, and now it's guaranteed. Look, you can start losing weight today or not. Go back to your high school days and wear your favorite jeans again. Guaranteed. Call now and get both weight loss formulas free. Call 800-451-0228. 800-451-0228. That's 800-451-0228.
Doc, you gotta give it to me straight.
All right.
'Cause I'm dying here. I mean, take a look at this letter from the IRS.
Oh, my.
This is killing me, Doc. I tell you, it's killing me.
Cheer up, my friend.
Huh?
The tax doctor is here. My diagnosis tells me that you're going to be just fine.
Really?
The tax doctor will not rest until we find you the best possible tax settlement.
Really, Doc?
Guaranteed.
If the IRS claims you owe them $10,000 or more in business or personal back taxes, call a tax doctor right now. We could save you up to 75% if you qualify. Guaranteed or you pay nothing. Call right now for free details.
800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. That's 800-917-8546.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And folks, we're back in this Christmas special that I like to broadcast around this time of year, where I take a look at what might have happened, when it might have happened over 2,000 years ago. Just to, in some ways, just to appreciate the miracle of Christmas, because it is the start of the Christian religion. As I said before the break, Easter in some ways is more important, I would say, in defining the religion. But Christmas is always seen as the start, because that's when Jesus was born, or supposedly born, depending on which way you lean. And, you know, as a start, whoever he was, as I said, it is a miracle how what he grew to be, what he preached, managed to become such a large and strong and relatively loving religion. So, before the break, I was mentioning that one of the things that I always find interesting to talk about is when was Christmas? When would have the real Christmas actually occurred? And I know there are a lot of people who, trying to do things like go back and look at astronomical events that might have led to something like the star that supposedly appeared over Bethlehem, that led the wise men to Bethlehem. That there might be astronomical events for that, and they're trying to couple it to other historical items, things like the fact that Joseph and Mary went to Bethlehem because it was required for taxation. The year zero, there's nothing like that. So it's always, there are things like that 3-4 years before, 4, 5, 6 years after. So would it actually have happened, what we call the year zero? Possibly not, maybe even probably not. But again, does the exact year really matter? No. I mentioned as well, I was going to was giving you a teaser about the Roman Emperor Constantine, right, who converted to Christianity and then made it the state religion in Rome after the Romans had been persecuting Christians for quite some time. Now, he came, a couple of hundred years at least after the original Christmas. So by then, I'm sure a lot of the things would have watered down. So when he made it the state religion, he needed to kind of work it into things that were going on at the time anyway. And the Romans had the festival of Saturn, or Saturnalia festival. And these were, I think, 4 or 5 days at the end of December, when basically it was 4 or 5 days of partying. Now, again, for today's Christians, the kind of partying that went on at that time was probably not what we would like to think associated with Christmas. We know all about Roman excesses and drinking and wine, women and song, etc. And it was that kind of partying that went on. So, but apparently what Constantine did, he took that festival, and rather than taking over the festival and taking away this 4 or 5 days of debauchery, basically, he decided to put 2 extra days, which eventually became Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, at the end of that, and actually extended the holiday. And as I heard on another show where they were also talking about this, the guy said, for most Romans, instead of 4 or 5 days of partying, now you've got 7 who wouldn't like this new religion. Of course, after a while, as Christianity took more hold, the 4 or 5 days partying went away, and we were left with the actual Christmas time. But notice this: Constantine basically interpreted that this was the time to celebrate Jesus' birth. This was when he was born, and kind of encouraged it to be on that date. The likelihood of that being true is fairly low. Remember, in the Bible, one of the things they say, his birth took place while the shepherds lay in the fields, guarding their flocks. So take that piece, and take the fact that in Israel, during the winter, it can get cold. Yes, we think Israel's in the Middle East, it's deserts, it's hot, but especially up in the mountains, and Jerusalem is away from the coast. It is at a higher elevation. Bethlehem itself as well is on the plateau, so it's higher up. It does get cold there in the winter, and one of the results of it getting cold in the winter is that the shepherds tend to bring their flocks down for the cold winter months, down into the villages, keep them there, and only keep them up on the mountainsides during the warmer months. So this kind of gives us an indication that December was not really the Christmas time. Now, again, as I've said, for many strong believers, I said this may be almost verging on the sacrilegious, but I think it doesn't take away from what happened. It's just when it happened. What to me, that doesn't make any difference. And in a way, I think it makes it a little more powerful if somehow we could know when it did happen, and that it actually did happen, because that would make this whole story all the more, I think, all the more beautiful, all the more acceptable, rather than just sort of having to rely on faith and say, well, that's what the Bible says, and therefore it must be so. as much as you can believe that the Bible was inspired by God, it was still written down by humans. A lot of the times, because in days of yore, before Gutenberg, they didn't have printing presses, so how were these documents disseminated? By people writing copies of them. People are people make mistakes, people start interpreting things, they don't like the way certain things are written, they change them from one copy to the next. It was all done by hand. So, it could get distorted. So there will be, and we see that if you look back at when they discover different copies, maybe written in different Middle Eastern languages, they found different documents that relate to the Bible in different languages, and the wording is slightly different each time. How do we know which one is right? We don't. We have to believe, and whether Christmas actually happens at Christmas or it happened in April or September or whatever, we don't know, but like I said, it doesn't take away from everything. So, probably not in December, but like I said, it's interesting just to try and find out or interpret perhaps some of the truths behind the myths. And there's so much more. So first of all, we have this. So maybe it wasn't at Christmas, but obviously he was born somewhere. Was he born in Bethlehem? That seems to be in both of the Gospels. Again, is that something that was introduced because the Jews at the time, who saw Jesus also as being someone to overthrow the Romans, were looking at earlier prophecies about somebody from the house of David, and Bethlehem, the town of Bethlehem, basically represented the lineage of King David of the Old Testament. So, if he was seen as coming, being the son of someone who came from Bethlehem, that would give him the credence of being the line of David. So was this something that was introduced? Was this something that was introduced early on? Was it introduced later? Again, without inventing a time machine, we're not going to know, but I always think it's interesting to think about that. Maybe he was born in Nazareth, where he came from. Who knows? And the Bethlehem story was added in. Again, I don't think the place matters. Now we do believe it to be Bethlehem. Constantine sent his mother to the Holy Land to go, after he converted, to go investigate and try and find out as much as possible. And she identified a number of sites where, if you like, by tradition, things had happened. The cave where he was born in Bethlehem, a number of other places. She supposedly found pieces of wood from the cross. But you've got to remember, Constantine didn't convert until at least 200 or 300 years after this had all happened. So how reliable might that be? Difficult to say. Anyway, I see the clock is ticking. I want to say hi to Rex, who's just arrived in the chat room. Better late than never, Rex, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to bore you with some commercials and maybe a little bit of music. I don't have any Christmas music. Don't have any license rights for that right now. But I've got something that's pretty close, I think would be very fitting.
Patriot come lately. British by birth. American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
Every day, millions of Americans grow more concerned about the future of our great nation. The truth is, over the last century, a small but powerful collectivist movement known as progressivism has debased our politics, our culture, and our currency. We're just a small step from falling into 1,000 years of darkness, as Ronald Reagan warned. Friend, this is Pat Boone with an important free offer on a hot new book called The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Lowell Ponte. This new book explains how we, the people, can end this fatal detour into big government and get back on the path of faith and freedom charted by our founders. Call now for a free copy of the hot new book called The Great Withdrawal.
Call now for your free copy. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. That's 800-978-3901.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS that you can't pay? Call now for immediate help. At the Tax Relief Line, we help people just like you. If you take on the IRS alone, you could be facing levies, liens, even wage garnishments, personal or business tax issues. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call now and see if you can pay less. They can freeze your bank accounts, even garnish your wages. Call the Tax Relief Line now for immediate help. Our expert team of tax professionals will negotiate your tax problem and deal with the IRS for you. If the IRS is threatening you with levies, wage garnishments, or seizing your assets, call now and see if you can pay the IRS less.
888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043.
This is Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio, keeping the spirit of America alive, a proud member of the Red State Talk Radio Network. Okay, folks, welcome back to this Christmas special. Not really a Christmas Eve, almost a Christmas Eve, but a Christmas Eve, I think, special. I hope you're enjoying it. Like I said, it's my ruminations, some of my thoughts around what could have, might have happened over 2,000 years ago, and as I will say again, I'm not doing this to out of any malice. I'm not trying to destroy anybody's faith. For me, I don't think it takes away from the miracle that happened in terms of growing from something that may or may not have happened exactly as written down in the Gospels to being such a huge and worldwide religion. That in of itself is a miracle. So it's just interesting to ponder on some of these things. For me, my own faith is strong enough that I say, even if it didn't happen exactly as written down, like I said, that doesn't take away from what did happen and who Jesus represented. So anyway, so where we were was, did the birth actually happen in Bethlehem? Was that maybe something that was changed to align with prophecies that had been made in the Old Testament? Was this because the Jews at the time that, if you like, many became Christians, but weren't actually Christians initially? But did they see him as the Messiah? Did they see him as someone that was going to free them from the yoke of Roman rule? And to do that, he had to be seen as a king. He had to meet these prophecies, and they said that the Messiah would come from the line of David, which was somebody who was born of a family from Bethlehem. So who knows? Get even more heretical, perhaps. Was Mary really a virgin? Was the word that's used for that actually a a correct translation, or was it a mistranslation of another word? I've seen that also it, in many cases, it really should have been translated as a maiden rather than a virgin. Difference there being basically a young girl. Again, does that take away from who Jesus might be, or was that virgin part kind of added in to give him more kind of divine, to give Jesus more divine attributes? She still could have been approached by an angel. If you believe in that, and I think there are some things between heaven and earth that we don't understand, that we don't know. Who said, that you are bearing a child? But does that mean that it was really a divine birth, or was it just that this angel, this entity, was preparing her for that? Who knows? Again, without inventing a time machine, I don't think we'll really know. So you might think, well, Stephen, you're sort of taking away the virgin birth, you're taking away born in Bethlehem, you're taking away this. Are you trying to break down this person? Not really, just trying to understand what might and might not have happened. Now, so on the other side, let me just say, there are mentions by the Jewish Roman scholar Josephus that mention Jesus, a couple only, out of all the writings that have been retained from that time period, only a couple of mentions. But isn't just one, enough? Now here again, because only a couple of mentions, there are those who will dispute it and say, well, these could have been things added, because remember, what we have are not Josephus's original writings. Those have disappeared a long time ago, unfortunately. So they are copies of copies of copies, because that's the way, you've probably seen the pictures, the monks slaving away, writing the parchments, copying from other ones. So we don't have the originals. So we don't know if things, again, were doctored slightly, more so. Who knows? But there have been, again, other copies of Josephus's writings found in other languages. So they were obviously spread around Asia, that do have some things in it which corroborate the copies that we have. So it's not as if it is totally sort of unfounded. And again, we don't know whether these other language copies were copied from something where Josephus's writings had already been adjusted, shall we say. But again, we could go on forever on that, and I'm sure there are scholars who debate this day in, day out. I just think it's interesting that, yes, there is a third party, a non-religious person, who happens to mention, talks about Jesus, talks about the crucifixion, talks about Jesus' brother James. Josephus mentions that Jesus was a good and holy man who did good works, did some very unusual things. Again, the miracles that are listed in the Bible. So there could be a grain of truth there. Again, is it all 100% exactly as written there? I'm not sure. But again, at the end of the line, as we come to Christmas, this is the time to celebrate his birth. Whether, like I said, whether or not you're a believer, a partial believer, or a heavy believer, or you don't believe at all, Christmas time is still a time for peace, for sharing, for loving. And let's try and put the Christ back in Christmas. Even for those of you that are not believers, just think of it, putting the idea of a good man wishing good to all men, being born, and let's pass that sentiment on for this season. Let's stop with this thing of anything to do with Christianity is bad. This is a time to look at all of the good things of this religion and share them with everybody. Believers and non-believers, half believers, partial believers, whatever. This is a good time to spend with family when you can, and I know there are those who can't, and we should support them as well. Look around for those, and where you can, bring them into your family. Share with folks. Sharing isn't just giving gifts. Sharing is being with the people, enjoying their company, but also sharing with them what you have. Some have more, some have less. Share what you can. And like I said, it isn't just buying things for folks that's sharing. I think it's much more really understanding what they need, sharing your heart and not just your pocketbook. So I am beginning to, I think, to sound like a preacher. Anyway, I see that we're into the third commercial break, and I haven't played the music, so I think I'm going to miss out on that. I've been ruminating so much. Got a couple of other topics I want to touch on for tonight, but before that, one last set of commercials, I'm afraid. Need to pay the rent, and just a reminder, if you like any of these services, please use the 800 numbers in the services, as they do provide income to the show.
The offer of a franchise can only be made through delivery of a franchise disclosure document. Imagine yourself being a leader in America's fastest growing demographic category. More than 10,000 people a day turn 65, and a large percentage are going to need a helping hand at home or in choosing the right assisted living community. Always Best Care is looking for people who've excelled at everything they've done, but they're seeking a new challenge. Always Best Care is one of the fastest growing companies in this explosive field. We're looking for 25 new franchisees to keep our booming business growing. We'll back you up with the strongest award-winning marketing program in the industry, and we'll provide the special training and support that's fueled our growth to prepare you for this great opportunity. All that's missing is you. Call Always Best Care toll-free at 1-800-643-7508. That's 1-800-643-7508. For Always Best Care, 1-800-643-7508. Call today.
Are you worried about losing your home to foreclosure? If you've been threatened with foreclosure or received legal papers from your bank, you have approximately 30 days to respond. If you do not respond, you could lose your home. You have rights. Act now to protect your rights. You can stay in your home. Many times you can even modify your loan. The bottom line is you can get past this, but you must act right now. Call National Foreclosure Defense right now at 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. If you've been served by your bank and you're worried about losing your home to foreclosure, now is the time to fight back and save your home. Time is limited, so call right now. 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. Call the professionals at National Foreclosure Defense right now. 800-296-3006. 866.
If you're diabetic, this message could change your life. Is your blood sugar out of control even when you do all the right stuff? Are you afraid of diabetic blindness and the risk of amputation, as well as all those other side effects? Well, you should be. Is there anything that could help manage your blood sugar? Nobetes is a natural supplement that may quickly and dramatically lower your blood sugar.
My name is Bob Corder. I've been using Nobetes for about 3.5 to 4 months now, and in the first 3 months, I've actually lowered my blood sugars from 500s down to 139, and then it dropped to 88 to 93.
My name is Kirsten. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and while taking Nobetes, my blood sugar levels dropped from 295 to 115 in just 1 day.
The FDA hasn't evaluated these statements, and Nobetes isn't intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But for many, it's helped drop their blood sugar. So if you've been evaluated with high blood sugar, don't delay. Evaluate Nobetes now. Call 800-551-8302 and get your free bottle. Just cover shipping and handling. Call 800-551-8302. That's 800-551-8302.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. Okay, folks, time is really rushing along, and I see we're into the last segment of the show. Been ruminating on Christmas and the origins of Christmas and what it may mean. Again, I would say if you disagree or you agree, you got comments, you got feedback, you got questions, feel free to contact me. Email is stephan@patrickcomelately.us, or you can go to the website www.patrickcomelately.us and leave a message for me on the contact form. You can also go to archives.patrickcomelately.us and leave a comment there. It's a little more public, that. We leave a comment, and I will reply to your comment there as well as on the show. However, let me get on now with the next topics. We've only got a few minutes left. Like I said, not enough time for the music, but as it wasn't a real Christmas song, I think we can do without it. So, but instead of that, and you have to excuse, I've got a little bit of a cold, a little bit of a sore throat, but maybe I'll just start a little bit of a song. You've probably heard of the music, but you may not recognize the words. I'm dreaming of a multiracial Christmas. Yes, the PC police have struck again. College students want to banish White Christmas from the radio because they feel that it is wrong, it is racially wrong, because it is a white Christmas. Dan Joseph, who has done a number of these things at MRC TV, actually was asking college students to sign a petition, and most of them were very much in favor. Most of them were saying, yes, it should stop being played because it only focuses on white Christmases. This clearly makes it racially insensitive since it completely ignores Christmases of other colors. What's with our college students? Are they really that dumb? Do they not realize that White Christmas has something to do with snow, which has nothing to do with race? Anyway, absolutely terrible. Something else that's terrible. Just today or yesterday, one of the worst attacks in recent time in Afghanistan killed 6 serving American military people. 1 woman, 5 men. It was carried out by a suicide bomber on a motorcycle outside the Bagram air base. And the Taliban, of course, claiming a responsibility for this suicide bomber. Of course, dear leader, what did he do about this bad news? Yes, he headed off to the golf course. Now, I seem to remember the president before him at a certain point saying, I'm going to stop playing golf because I don't feel comfortable doing it while I'm sending our young people in harm's way. So to do this on the day that the worst attack of 2015 was reported to him really shows that this guy living in the White House, and remember, I don't use the P word in connection with this person, is totally insensitive, totally narcissistic, just all about him, and absolutely disgusting. He didn't even make any kind of statement himself. He had his lackey Josh Ernest, or Baghdad Josh, as I sometimes call him, because he's so good at distorting the truth. Make the statement for him. So just he couldn't be bothered to do anything about that, and just very, very sad. Now, finally, in this time, and I mentioned earlier, this is a time for most Christians of peace and love, and we hope other people who are not necessarily Christian. I've worked with Hindus, Buddhists as well, and they recognize that this is a special time for Christians. They accept it, and they, to a certain extent, tend to reflect those thoughts of peace, of love, specifically at that time. However, at this time of peace and love, even today, it is sad to hear that there are still some people out there that are preaching and advocating hate and violence, and not just in the Middle East, right here in America, and in actual fact, in Tennessee. In Memphis, Tennessee, at the Rhodes College, the Tennessee imam, saying Jews and Christians are filthy, and basically he compares Christians to feces and urine, saying they're the most evils, and he instructs his students that they should engage in jihad and fight all unbelievers till they convert to Islam. Well, that may be what Islam says, but I thought Loretta Lynch said that anybody who preaches violence against Muslims, she was going to come after hard. Why isn't she coming after this guy? Because he's preaching violence as well. I think it's absolutely disgusting that someone like that is allowed to continue to preach like that. And people wonder why Donald Trump says, hey folks, we need to police, we need to go listen what the imams are saying in the mosques. We need to monitor them, because if they start preaching this kind of violence, they deserve to get sent out of the country if they're here on a green card, or they need to get locked up for hate speech, because we do have hate speech laws, and if we're going to apply them to other people, then we can just as soon apply them to these, and even more so, because look at the results of their hate speech. There's a hell of a lot more people being killed by Muslims than any of the other extremist Christians, like the Westboro Baptist or other extreme Christians. Yes, there have been some killings, and we in no way condone those, but it's just absolutely disgusting that this person is allowed to continue with that kind of stuff. I may come back to this next week, so I really think we need to investigate this a bit more. Anyway, folks, I see the clock is ticking again, and here we go. It is time to say TTFN. Just a reminder, please tell your friends, and once again, folks, Merry Christmas. Thank you for listening to the show. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's topics. Whether you listened live, to a recording, or to a rebroadcast, I appreciate the time you share with me. We need to spread the message of liberty far and wide, so please tell your friends and family about the show. Thank you for helping to keep the beacon of hope burning. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, signing off. God bless America, and remember, L3, long live liberty.